Hey y'all, welcome back to the party. It's me, your girl Britt Reacts. Do you notice anything different? We'll talk about it on the other side, but this is another reaction to The Fat Files by Nick the Fat Electrician. This one is the world's biggest unregulated bank, Starbucks. Let's see what he has to say. Listen, I'm probably going to talk for about 5 minutes. I'm going to ramble. I don't care. Just skip through if you just want to get to the reaction part. But I feel like most of you will care. An update on a few things. Number one, if you missed my live last night, that is Thursday, June 5th. I went live and I let you guys know that someone sent me a 70-pound package. And I also let you know that Nick had reached out to me via Instagram when all of that stuff went on last week with the hackers. And he saw I was in distress. He DM'd me and asked me if I needed any help. And I almost lost my mind just at the kindness. And then at the fact that, like, oh my God, he sees me. And, I got his message 2 days after everything was kind of settled in the dust, thanks to my cousin, Mr. L. Boyd. But I reached back out and said, thank you so much. Everything's been resolved. And he replied by saying, so good to hear, essentially, and that he sent my husband and I merch. So I knew that was coming. But then I got a notification from my P.O. box that there was a 70-pound package that I needed to come pick up ASAP because they were not going to hold it more than 48 hours for me. And I'm like, okay. So I picked the package up. I get my husband to lug it up the stairs. I went live last night and we figured out a few things. One, both of the packages came from Bernie, Texas. Two, they both had the incorrect spelling of my last name. They didn't come from the exact same address though. But one could assume that perhaps somehow the Fat Electrician sent me what we found out by putting the SKU in Google, a TV console, a farmhouse style TV console. It's ginormous. Anyway, I told you guys I'd update you on the live. I did reach out to him on the live via Instagram and explain the situation and asked him. He replied back after I got off the live and said he did not send that. I don't know how to explain it. If someone else can figure it out, let me know. Now I got to figure out where to put this big box because I cannot unbox it and build it. There's nowhere for it to go. Nowhere for it to go. So it's got to get somewhere like back downstairs into the basement or something until we can figure out, like, I don't know. Anyway, so that's the update on that. Nick did not send that. I also want to update you guys because you guys are the same audience, I feel, as the Unsubscribed podcast when I react to them. And you all know about the Buffalo school system saga that's been going on and that I live in the Buffalo area and this was super close to me. If you don't know about it, click out of here, go catch up on the videos on Unsubscribed podcast. And then if you want to look at my video reacting to it to explain how I am so closely related to it, feel free. But I'd rather you go watch their video because all the information is there. We have raised a total of $1,903 from the Brit Reacts channel. I'm so excited about that. I do also want to put in a clause that for those of you that don't know, any money that comes to a creator through Super Thanks or anything like that there's a fee attached to it from the iOS system or like whatever pay system you use to send that money to me in a super chat or a live video or whatever it was through YouTube. So they take a fee. So our actual total after those fees is $1,668, which I still feel insanely, incredibly proud about. And I'm so grateful to you guys. Like, y'all did that. I did nothing. I told my story and I said I wanted to give back to the cause, just like the gentleman at Unsubscribe. And we raised almost $2,000 before the fees, which is mind blowing. If you recall, I don't remember who the gentleman of Unsubscribe podcast donated there, I think almost $10,000 to, but I found another organization locally in Buffalo called Bury the Violence. It's run by, I wrote it down, Karima Morris, and that is where I am going to donate our money. Karima is an alumni of the school where the almost abduction happened, where the guy is now been indicted and sitting in a Buffalo jail. And so she's connected to it in that way. Her organization is all about troubled teens that are running away and just have, unfortunate circumstances around them. And I just feel like our money can really help them. And it's really special. So I will go live. Like I told you guys, YouTubers, we get paid once a month through our AdSense on the 21st, but this month, the 21st falls on a weekend. So I'll get paid on the 23rd. And on that day I will go live and, pay her through her website and also send her a nice, kind email and message just letting her know that we raise this for her and we really support what she's doing and we hope for the best for her organization, and maybe I can get in and help in some other ways. But anyway, those are the updates. I'm wearing my Gifted merch. This is such a good, the quality of Nick's merch is insane.
I'm just going to be honest with you.
Hold on. Not yet. The quality of Nick's merch is insane. The hoodies, I wish it wasn't like summer now, but trust me, I got to go to the airport like for a few times in the next couple weeks. I will be wearing the hoodie. This hat, y'all know I'm a hat girl. I love it. So anyway, I'm happy about that. I just feel blessed and highly favored. All right, on to Starbucks. Listen, the coincidence here is I was at Starbucks this morning, and shout out to the oat milk shaken horchata espresso situation. It's delicious. Get the horchata cold foam on top. You won't regret it. With that being said, I rambled like I promised for 6 minutes to be exact. Let's see what Nick has to tell us about Starbies, as I like to call it.
I'm just going to be honest with you. When I started this video, I kind of just wanted to know how they made so much money selling overpriced coffee. I was not expecting them to secretly be an unregulated bank that was powerful enough to manipulate the real estate industry. But here we are.
And the real estate industry?
The coffee shop that also manages $1.7 billion worth of other people's money, doesn't have to pay interest to them, and faces no banking regulation while they do it.
How,
Sway?
You look nice.
She's hilarious.
I thought we were going to do Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Not role play. Not role play, guys.
I forgot.
The no deleted scenes for you.
Wait, what does that mean?
Ooh.
Wait, what does that mean? This video is brought to you by Delete Me. Super straightforward business. You give them money, they make sure the data brokers aren't selling your personal information on the internet. So if you don't know, pretty much any time that you use social media or any other free thing on the internet, that company is probably making money by harvesting your personal information, selling that to data brokers, and then data brokers sell it to whoever. Next thing you know, you're getting weird emails and robocalls, but luckily these data brokers have to delete your information if you fill out the appropriate request, and Delete Me will do that automatically for you, and then they will keep scanning all the data brokers and filling out requests as needed to make sure that your private information is not being sold on the internet. So if you want to go check them out, I'm going to have them linked in the description down below, and then they're also always linked over on my website, thefatelectrician.com. Let's get back to this video. All right, from the top, 1971, three friends open up a coffee store, not a coffee shop, a coffee store. They're not brewing coffee in-house and letting people leave with drinks. They don't have an atmosphere where people can come in and feel welcome and drink coffee. No, they have a store that sells coffee beans, coffee, and then coffee making equipment like espresso machines, coffee bean grinders, and coffee pots. And while that sounds like a recipe for failure today, it was actually a huge hit at the time, because at this point in time in America, the 1970s, there was no good coffee. There was just like the shit you can get in a can at a grocery store, go home and make yourself. It wasn't good coffee. Americans didn't have a coffee culture per se. It was literally just people drinking coffee to get caffeine, not because they liked coffee.
Okay, noted. I don't know if I ever paid attention to that, but that does definitely make sense. I am not a coffee drinker's dream, okay? I like my coffee light and sweet. I like her light skin and I like her sweet, okay? What I will say is like the Colombian coffee, like the one you just drink in the little thing. Oh, I could drink that all day, straight up black as it comes. Black as the bean, baby. But yeah, like I am the offensive coffee drinker that goes in and asks for extra cold foam and extra whipped cream. So yeah, I went on a coffee date coincidentally with a new friend, because I'm new to the Buffalo area, and so I'm making all these new friends. My nail tech was like, do you want to get coffee? And I was like, heck yeah. And guess what, guys? Her name's Brittany. I swear I can't make it up. Anyway, we went to this coffee shop, cutest little coffee shop, and she was like, oh, I have to buy the beans. They're like Ethiopian beans. Ethiopian coffee beans are the best. And I was just like, wouldn't know. I bought my husband a Ninja espresso or a coffee maker. You can do like iced coffee, regular coffee, espresso, but from the little what do they call, pods, because his new coaching job is just 24/7 and he doesn't sleep. And that is like the extent of my ability to understand coffee. So yeah, I just, I'm not a coffee girly. But I am a Starbies girly. Starbies, you heard it. So yeah, this should be interesting. But yeah, I definitely don't, because I've never really been, I know there's a coffee culture, but I've never really been a part of it. So I would have never known a fact like that. Like these three gentlemen kind of started in a culture that wasn't sitting at a cafe. It was just a coffee store. So I learned something new per usual within the first minute and 59 seconds of
culture per se. It was literally just people drinking coffee to get caffeine, not because they liked coffee. So when the Starbucks guys came out and they started selling actual fresh roasted whole bean coffee, and then you could buy all the equipment to make it yourself at home, it was pretty popular. Then one day, because Starbucks was selling so many coffee pots and espresso machines and coffee bean grinders, the local salesman in charge started to take notice of like, hey, this one little tiny coffee store is selling more coffee making equipment than all the major department stores in the area combined.
That's wild.
I need to go figure out what's going on here. And that guy's name was Howard Schultz, the future owner, CEO, and kind of the mastermind behind the entire thing, because he shows up, sees what the Starbucks guys are doing, he falls in love with it. He thinks it's a brilliant idea, and
so
he basically has to beg
Starbucks?
them to be
I bet
involved. So they kind of reluctantly let
that.
him on board. He becomes the business manager of sorts, and over the course of the next decade, they end up opening
Look
three
how cute
more
that
of these
little
coffee
Starbucks
stores
is.
inside the city of Seattle. Then in the mid-1980s,
Oh, I
Howard
did know
Schultz
it
ends up
started
going
in
to Italy
Seattle.
on vacation, and he goes into an actual Italian coffee shop, which is something like he's never experienced before, because they don't have
The
coffee shops
cafe
like that in America at this
experience in
point in time. He
Italy.
walks in the door, you can smell freshly ground coffee. There's baristas doing
I've
all
never
their
been to Italy,
fancy
but I
kung
can
fu
imagine.
moves, making lattes and shit. There's an entire culture. There's people, reading newspapers, talking, and it hits him. This is literally just a bar, but you get to go to this one before work instead of going after work, right? Because all a bar is
No. Is that not revolutionary to anybody? That's actually so true that's all a coffee shop is. It's literally the bar experience with coffee and not alcohol. I never thought of it like that. It is. It is. And the more vibey it is these days, like the more viral it is. That's wild. It's crazy.
a bar,
you had to go to
but
Italy to
you
figure
get to
that
go to
out.
this one before work instead of going after work, right? Because all a bar is selling atmosphere. You can buy all the alcohol
crazy.
way cheaper at the grocery store, but then you have to
Right.
drink it at home
By
by yourself.
yourself?
So you're
I knew
willing
he
to
was
pay
gonna say
5
that.
times as much to go have that same beer at a bar to enjoy the atmosphere and other people's company.
experience.
And
It
that's exactly
matters.
what this coffee shop is doing, but they're doing it with coffee. And Howard realizes he's already the wholesaler for really good coffee. So if he opens up his own coffee shop, it would be like
Money
Anheuser-Busch
in the
opening up their own
bank.
bar. He's no longer getting the product at wholesale price. He's getting the product at manufacturing price. He's going to make a killing. So he goes back home, tries to sell
Bag.
this idea to the other Starbucks guys. They're not having it. This isn't broke. We're not going to fix it. Just keep doing what we're doing. So Howard Schultz is like, fine, I'm going to step away from Starbucks. I'm going to go open up my own coffee shop and do my own thing. This happened in 1985. By 1987, the original 3 Starbucks owners are having some financial troubles with the company. They just want to sell it and move on to a different business venture together. So they offer it up first to their friend Howard, who's been busy running his own coffee shop for the past couple of years. They want $3.8 million for the company of Starbucks, and they're going to give him
3 people sold Starbucks for less than $4 million. Oh, I would be gagging. Because how much is Starbucks worth today? This is what vision will do, folks. Vision will have you looking way into the future when other people couldn't even fathom. That is vision. And these guys are like, we're in the we're not doing well financially. $3.8 million. Even back then, when $3.8 million was way more money, I can't imagine that was a good sale. Oh, if I was a descendant, if I was in the line of lineage of the 3 men who let go of Starbucks for $1.1 million each, I would excommunicate myself. That is insane. I don't know why it just made me so mad. I'm enraged.
They want $3.8 million
Enraged.
for the company of Starbucks, and they're going to give him 60 days to get it, where he doesn't have to compete with a bunch of other buyers.
And they gave
so
him
Howard
60
Schultz
days.
now has a 60-day grace period to come up with $3.8 million
They really liked
in
him.
the 1980s, so that's way more money than it is today.
Right.
And he sounds like a crazy person, right? He's going into banks being like, hey, I've got this business idea. I'm going to open up a coffee shop. Think of it as like a bar, but instead of selling beer at night, I'm going to sell coffee in the morning, and people are going to come and pay $4 for a cup of coffee. Here's the kicker. We're not going to sell coffee in sizes like small, medium, and large, like literally everything else on the planet. We're just going to come up with some made up Dr. Seuss words like
This is
tall,
too
grande,
much.
venti, trenta, whatever other random fucking bullshit.
I didn't even know a demi exist. I never knew that. Or a short. What the heck are those? Are those are espresso? That's espresso talk, huh? And I just recently, probably in the last year, found out that Trenta existed. If you need 30 ounces of coffee in the morning, perhaps you need Jesus. I'm not judging. I'm just giving you another source of energy, perhaps, because 30 ounces of coffee. I can't even drink a tall on an empty stomach without feeling like I did a hard narcotic. Honestly.
Made up Dr. Seuss words like tall, grande, venti, trenta, whatever other random fucking bullshit words I want to make up. And it's going to be a huge hit. You should definitely give me millions and millions of dollars.
No, you're dead, Carl. You say
Jimmy
no to
boy.
life, and therefore you're not living.
What movie is this?
You don't have a girlfriend. You don't have anything close to a girlfriend.
What movie is
Am I
this?
right, Carl?
So to everybody's surprise, the bank isn't really interested in that idea, so
Why
he starts
would he
going
put
to
it on
venture
his
capitalists,
nose?
and finally he gets referred to a venture capitalist by the name of Bill Gates Sr., aka Bill Gates' dad, that agrees to give him the money so that he can...
Was I today years old when I found out Bill Gates was a junior? And so he comes from money? His daddy had money? Because you can't just pull up on a random guy with a wife and kids and ask for millions of dollars. My mind is blown.
By the name of Bill
It's been
Gates
5
Sr.,
minutes and 20
aka
seconds since
Bill
this video
Gates'
started.
dad, that agrees to give him the money so that he can buy Starbucks. Now, is that super relevant to the story? No, not really. But I know that by bringing him up, there's now going to be 1,000 conspiracy theories in the comments down below, and I wanted to read them. So you could probably check those out too. Anyways. Now, with Howard Schultz in charge of the company, to everybody's surprise, it starts doing great, and he starts opening up more and more Starbucks all over the country. And just to be clear, Starbucks was not the first coffee shop in North America, but it was the first, like, mainstream chain of coffee shops that was a lot of people's introduction to coffee shops in America.
Okay, pause. Again, that's why you're here. I have a question. So I don't know if Nick mentioned a year. I cannot recall him mentioning a year. But when you think of shows like Friends, where so much of their... So was that show... Was Friends in a coffee shop or was it like a cafe? Not so much a coffee shop. Anyway, if Starbucks is starting this cafe culture, then what year are we talking about? I'm just wondering because I think 90s TV, and I think like you think like, let's say like the Max on Saved by the Bell, or like where the kids hung out in college in on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, or on Different World, like things like that. But I don't know if I can recall a show. I don't know. Anyway, was Friends in a coffee shop? Was it a coffee shop? I've seen many, many episodes of Friends, but certainly not all of them. And I don't think I appreciated it then the way I would probably appreciate it if I started watching it again now. Anyway, so off track. How do we get to
of coffee
Friends?
shops that was a lot of people's introduction to coffee shops in America, and for that reason they kind of got credit for a lot of different things. Pretty much anything new that came out in the coffee industry, Starbucks would adopt it and they would kind of get credit for it. Like, they didn't invent the Frappuccino. That was invented by Coffee Connection out of Boston, Massachusetts in 1992. But everybody associates the Frappuccino with Starbucks,
Starbucks.
which obviously
That was my
just
first
the next
drink from
evolution of
Starbucks.
coffee in America, right?
Vanilla
Because
bean
it's a very
Frappuccino.
niche community that enjoys a nice strong cup of coffee, or a cappuccino, or an Americano, or a latte, you know, your traditional coffee drinks. So if they wanted to make more money and expand bigger, they needed to appeal to a wider audience. And how do you appeal to a wider audience, particularly an American one? You add fucking 72 grams of sugar and some whipped topping and drizzle some caramel and hot chocolate on top. Fucking bam. Energy milk.
Look at that drink. That is so obnoxious. It's really so obnoxious. Like, why are we as Americans like this? I saw a meme like yesterday in the middle of all this like Trump and Elon breakup drama, that it was like, every day I wake up and I'm so thankful I'm not an American. And I just feel like that's how people look at us for many reasons. One of them being our overconsumption and our like gluttonous culture. And you look at something like that, and I know it makes real connoisseurs of coffee enraged. Like, but I want you to know, this is like, I would never drink this because y'all know I prefer a white chocolate. I don't like chocolate. But my first ever Starbucks drink, I'll never forget. Like, to me, Starbucks was introduced to me probably around like 2005. I was a like upperclassman in high school. And my high school boyfriend introduced me to Starbucks. And he used to always get a vanilla bean Frappuccino. So that's what I drank from Starbucks for years. And I thought I was doing something. Like, oh, I got a coffee. That is an actual, I'm not kidding, milkshake. I don't even know if there's coffee in it. Maybe. milkshake. Now I'm more of a like iced coffee girl, but every now and then I'll still get not a vanilla bean, but I'll go and get like the caramel crunch one. Oh, guilty. But like I used to get one of those from Starbucks and then go to sushi after high school, and I thought I was on Laguna Beach. I thought I was Lauren Conrad. I thought I was Whitley Gilbert. I thought I was top tier adulting in high school because I had my adult milkshake. You can't tell me that doesn't look like a freaking milkshake. Look at that thing. Oh my God. Other countries hate us. Like I know they do.
And some whipped topping and drizzle some caramel and hot chocolate on top. Fucking bam. Energy milkshake. Okay. I know that's going to upset a lot of people, but if your drink has over 250 calories and it's got whipped topping, it's not coffee. Okay. That is a milkshake with caffeine in it.
It literally
Wait,
is
this just milk and sugar?
That's what I said.
I mean, I guess that's white chocolate.
Every morning.
So now they're no longer just targeting coffee snobs, they're targeting kids, teenagers, and most importantly, middle-aged, middle-class housewives that have enough expendable income to afford $12 energy drink milkshakes every single day. So now they're literally just swimming in money, right? The Frappuccino is like a giant iceberg, Starbucks is a Titanic. As soon as those two things collided, there's just money everywhere. So now that they're making a ton of money, their business model is just rapid expansion, okay? Starbucks, you gotta keep this in mind, is not a franchise. All the Starbucks are owned by Starbucks. You can't buy your own Starbucks and be a franchisee. They're all the same company. So these guys are literally just trying to expand everywhere because in the early 1990s, the coffee craze is starting to hit all over the country and they want to be the first coffee place that most people end up.
Okay, so he said the early 1990s. So yeah, I guess that would allude to perhaps coffee places becoming a thing, a staple in like on TV sets. Again, like in high school, I guess I didn't understand the magnitude of Starbucks. But my two best friends, it was after high school. I want to say like 2010-ish. They moved to San Francisco and they became key holder managers of a Starbucks inside of a corporate building in San Francisco. And the stories they would tell me, just like the corporation and like the way things are run, I was like, oh, that Starbucks is a big deal. So I genuinely had no idea. I had no clue.
Craze is starting to hit all over the country and they want to be the first coffee place that most people end up trying so they can get those loyal customers.
So it's always
and they
been
get
trending.
all the business. And whether you like Starbucks or not, you got to admit they did a pretty good job at being literally fucking everywhere all the time because Starbucks is like the only business I've ever been in where I can be inside of a Starbucks, look out the window and see another Starbucks off in the distance.
Waffle House.
And this goes on for almost a decade.
Waffle
Starbucks
House
is just raking in the money, opening up new stores all over the place. And by 2000, Howard Schultz decides that he's going to step down as CEO and he's going to focus all of his efforts into expanding the company, having Starbucks everywhere, all over the world. That same year, Howard Schultz expanding the company, having Starbucks everywhere.
Look at that foot long. Oh, this isn't even in America. Pincho con Spanish? Is it Spanish? Ate? No, because it doesn't matter. It is in English, Karen.
And he's going to focus all of his efforts into expanding the company, having Starbucks everywhere, all over the world. That same year, Howard Schultz takes Starbucks to China, which is absolutely insane because China drinks tea. They don't drink coffee.
Right. Their culture is very tea.
Regardless, Howard Schultz shows up in China, opens up a Starbucks, basically like just, hey, commies, I know you guys like tea, but hear me out. Try some coffee and some blue jeans. It's way cooler. And to everybody's surprise, the Chinese people fucking loved it, and they started opening up Starbucks at a rate that Starbucks had never seen. Okay, they were opening up a new Starbucks every 15 hours for 20 years straight in China. Okay, I'm gonna be honest with you.
Every 15 hours. That's a little over half a day. Every half a day for 20 years, they were opening up a Starbucks in China. How many Starbucks are in China? I'm sorry. The thought of the math of that is astronomical because y'all know math is not my ministry, so I'm not going to sit here and try to math it. But how? 20 years. 20 years. That's 365 days. That's 7,300 days. We're going to multiply that. Or no, we're going to break that down. That's by 24 hours. That's 304. I can't. I literally can't. Nope, I won't. You're not going to make fun of me today.
for 20 years straight in China. Okay, I'm gonna be honest with you, nothing warms my heart more than when a communist nation falls in love with American fast food. It's just perfect.
What happened?
I won.
Fast forward to 2008, Starbucks is now losing money for some reason. Nobody can really figure out why. So
okay, maybe
Howard
that
Schultz
lines up with
comes
why
back,
I didn't feel like
becomes
Starbucks was a big
CEO again, and
deal.
he's trying to figure out what have they done to his company. He's been focusing on growing, opening up new locations. Meanwhile, all the locations that have already been opened aren't making as much money as they should be. What on earth is going on? Schultz discovers for the past 8 years in his absence that he's been letting a bunch of business majors run his business, and all they care about is how to maximize profits. So they did just that. They streamlined everything. They automated everything. Starbucks no longer grinds coffee in-house at its coffee shops. They do it all in a factory and just ship the ground coffee there. It's quicker, it's more efficient, it probably makes more money, but now Starbucks, a coffee shop, doesn't smell like freshly ground coffee. It smells like a hospital. They replaced all the traditional espresso machines with these automatic machines that would just spit out a completely done drink, which means they basically got rid of baristas and they just had a person behind the counter.
There's no experience. There's literally no reason for you to go into a Starbucks anymore. They've taken the experience away. It's interesting because at the beginning of this, Nick said that the 3 guys that own Starbucks first were like, it's not broke, why do we need to fix it? But it seems like Nick hired people who came in and fixed something that wasn't broke. And look what happened. But when Nick took it from them, he took it, it was fixed, and he broke it, and he made it better. That's interesting. That is interesting. Again, I think it's all about vision. Like, the guy's vision was small, Nick's vision was big, but his vision was correct. And it seems like these younger CEOs or whatever came in thinking they were doing, you know what I mean? This is the thing with all this technology we have nowadays, the AI, the robots. It's like, yeah, that's cool, but you're going to take away the biggest necessity of life, which is human interaction. Like, we need each other. We need to be talking to each other. We need to be like touching grass and feeling each other's hands. And like, I want to talk to my barista. I want to walk into Starbucks and they're like, hi, how are you? The girl today at Starbucks, the whole team, everyone was so great. And you're going to take that away?
Out a completely done drink, which means they basically got rid of baristas and they just had a person behind the counter that would grab the cup from the machine that made it and hand it to the person. Essentially, the business majors had gotten rid of the culture and the experience of going to a coffee shop, which was the entire point and justification of overcharging for coffee in the first place. Remember, it's just like a bar. You wouldn't want to go drink a beer inside of a hospital room. You'd rather go home and do that in your backyard. If you're going to go and overpay for beer, you want to go to a cool bar with your friends. It's the same deal with a coffee shop. People pay for products and people pay for experiences, and they got rid of half of that equation, and it's making the entire company suffer.
I'm surrounded by idiots.
Howard Schultz correctly identified
places like Chick-fil-A, places like Starbucks, like their product is the experience more, I think, than the actual item that is being sold. Like, it's such a part of their brand that if you pull back the like my pleasure, if you pull back the simplicity of things, it totally takes away people's desire to go there. Can I get a witness?
Entire company suffer.
I'm surrounded by idiots.
Howard Schultz correctly identifies this and pretty much immediately has everybody start grinding the coffee fresh in the individual Starbucks locations to bring back that coffee smell. He gets rid of all the automatic machines, brings back all the traditional coffee shop equipment, and then he shuts down every single Starbucks and retrains all the baristas in how to turn this place into an actual coffee shop again. And with that, the crisis is averted. Everything's back on course. They're making money again like they're supposed to be. Howard Schultz has one eye on the past. He knows how they got here. He knows what he needs to keep doing to be successful, but now he's got to keep that other eye on the future. You got to remember, it's 2008, 2009. Smartphones are becoming a thing. Everybody's getting an app. Starbucks has to get an app, right? Okay, so they build the Starbucks app. Now, the app is super straightforward. You take money, you put it on the app, the money sits there until you spend it at a Starbucks, and then when you do spend money from the app, you're going to get stars, which is basically your rewards, and once you get so many stars, you get a free drink. And then as time progressed, you could do online ordering, and you could order from your phone, so it was ready when you got to the coffee shop if you were in a hurry or something. But the key function of the Starbucks app is that it's essentially a gift card that's on your phone. You charge it up, you spend it at Starbucks, you get free rewards. And it works out great for a lot of people, right? If you go to Starbucks every day, spending $10 a trip, and you're spending $300 a month at Starbucks, you can just take $300 at the beginning of the month, charge up your Starbucks thing, and you're good to go, and then you get...
If you can afford that, I'm jealous. That is just astronomical to think that you're spending $300 on. I mean, people do it, and it's just like, either you need to learn how to manage your money, or I want to learn how to manage my money the way you manage your money, because I want to be able to just like, not that I actually want to go spend it, but I want to be able to afford to upload a card monthly, $300 for something that is not a necessity. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need it to eat, sleep, and breathe.
Just take $300 at the beginning of the month, charge up your Starbucks thing, and you're good to go, and then you get a bunch of free drinks along the way. But here's the catch with that. While it functions like a gift card to the consumer, it functions like a bank to Starbucks. Okay? I mean, think about how a bank works.
How?
You go to a bank, you open up an account, and then you give them your money, and then they just hang on to it for you until they need it. And in the meantime, they go and they invest your money and make money off of your money.
Starbucks is investing my money?
You some of that money back, and that's how much interest you accrue. But what Starbucks has done is you now give Starbucks money, and they sit on that money, and then they don't have to give you that money back. You can't get your money out of the Starbucks app. The only thing you can do with that money now is buy coffee at Starbucks. And they don't have to give you interest for it, right? If you give Starbucks $300, they get to sit.
Am I pissed, or am I pissed because I feel played and scammed, or am I pissed because like that's so genius and I never thought about it that way? And here's the thing, right? You can't reload your Starbucks card for less than, I think, $25. Like, you can go in and like pay cash or whatever, but if you're using it through, because you get more stars if you pay, I think, through loading up a card. Are they incurring interest on my money? Are they incurring interest on my money? I don't know if I am. Do I feel bamboozled or do I feel inspired? I don't know where I am right now.
Starbucks. And they don't have to give you interest for it, right? If you give Starbucks $300, they get to sit on it and do whatever the fuck they want with it. They owe you $300 worth of coffee, which to them probably only costs like $80 to make. But that's their money now, and they get to do whatever they want with it, right? They could literally put it in the stock market and make, 7% interest off of all your money. Meanwhile, you're making nothing.
The only problem
I love that Wolf of Wall Street is like the reference here.
Buy more.
Scammers.
Sound fair enough?
Scammers.
My wife might divorce me, but yeah, let's do it. Oh, yeah.
And here's the thing, it's basically a win-win because you don't care. You have $100 in there.
I care.
They would have paid you like 7 cents. Who cares? It's no big deal, right? But
Okay,
when
fair.
Starbucks,
That's
who in 2024 has 35,000 locations and millions of customers, has
35,000, which 30,000 of them are in China, apparently. 35,000 locations?
2024 has 35,000 locations and millions of customers, has all these people with $5, $10, $15, $20, $100, $300 in their Starbucks account sitting there doing nothing. Starbucks, as of 2024, has $1.7 billion sitting inside of their app that hasn't been redeemed yet. Okay, $1.7 billion is more than 90% of all banks in the United States of America have access to. Starbucks
My brain
is literally
is
one of the biggest
not
banks
well.
in the country. They don't have to pay interest to any of their clients. They're not FDIC insured, and they don't owe you shit. Bear in mind, even if you do redeem it, they're making like 100% profit margin built into their prices already. And on top of that, they already know that like 10% of people are just gift cards that are never actually going to redeem it, or
That's
they
so
got
true.
lost, or they changed phones and they lost track of their account, so they're just going to start a new one. There was
I'm
20
the
bucks
only
there,
one
it's
that's,
not
like,
worth the hassle.
baffled.
Starbucks just gets to keep that money forever. But here's the crazy part, because Starbucks hasn't actually given the customer their product yet, it's just $1.7 billion that's redeemable
there.
by the customer, which means
For them to
that
maybe come back and
$1.7 billion
use.
that is sitting inside of a Starbucks bank account controlled 100% by Starbucks isn't income, it's not profit, it's not revenue, it's a liability, meaning it's not taxed at all. So Starbucks essentially has a
Is this a
$1.7 billion,
scam? Is
0%
this a scam?
interest, untaxed loan.
First of all, I want y'all to know I actually prefer Dunkin' Donuts over Starbucks. But there's a Starbucks walking distance in our neighborhood, and my daughter loves their grilled cheese, unbeatable. But Dunkin' has better matcha, and a lot of people say Dunkin' has better coffees. But you want to know what Dunkin' definitely has better? Their reward system. Cash out at Dunkin' Donuts. Their reward system is top tier. But now I'm like, should I feel some type of way? Should I feel scorned by this? Or is this just like, it's not a big deal? Are we boycotting? Because if we ride at dawn, I'm there, baby. I'm there. In my camel hat. I'm there. say the word.
$7 billion, 0% interest,
This
untaxed
is
loan that they can use to
unreal.
invest on whatever the fuck they want. They could do the most conservative investing on the planet. They could take all $1.7 billion and invest it in U.S. government treasury bonds that pay 5% and still make $85 million a year for doing fucking nothing.
The real question is this: was all this legal?
Right.
Absolutely fucking not.
Okay, if you're not picking up what I'm putting down, Starbucks has
Is it
literally
not legal?
done what cryptocurrency has tried to do. They created their
that's
own
a
currency,
point.
right? When you look at the
That's a
US
point.
dollar, the US dollar is backed by the US government, which used to be backed by gold, but
Gold.
now it's just backed by the biggest military on the planet. America used to run on the gold standard,
Oh.
now we just run on the lead standard. Regardless, that's what you're banking on when you put your money in US dollars. You're banking on the
Nick is so good at like putting things in perspective in like layman's terms for me, because I never thought like, yeah, I guess it's not, the gold means nothing. Like, do we even have gold? All we now have to stand on is our ginormous military.
lead standard. Regardless, that's what you're banking on when you put your money in US dollars. You're banking on the US government not failing. Starbucks,
Okay.
when you put money in their app, you're just banking on the fact
Coffee.
that you're going to be able to go pretty much anywhere in the country or most places around the
And
world
have
and be able
coffee.
to redeem that magical internet coupon on your phone for some good coffee. Okay, the name
It's not a
Starbucks
coupon.
is starting
You
to
get
make a lot more sense
discount.
now, isn't it? Okay, and here's what I want you to think about. Think about a bank. You walk into a bank, in the lobby, there's always free coffee, and then you walk in, you give them your money, and they hang on to it until you want it back. Starbucks does the exact same fucking thing, except somehow they get away with charging you money for the coffee, and then they never ever have to give you your money back. They're only gonna give you coffee. This is the craziest business model on the planet, okay? And the best part is, there's no victims. Nobody's mad, okay? Everybody that gives Starbucks
I'm
their
kinda
money
mad.
never expects their money
Should I
back.
be
They just
mad?
want coffee.
I'm
and
kinda
that's
mad.
exactly what they get. They're happy.
I don't know if
Starbucks
I'm
gets a
mad,
$1.7 billion
but I'm in my feels.
untaxed 0% interest loan, makes a ton of money. Everybody gets their coffee. It's
just
the
works.
most incredible business model I've ever come across, ever. Okay, at this point, I feel like I've said pretty much nothing but good things about Starbucks, and I need to talk a little smack now
Please
so
do.
that things can
Talk
be balanced.
that talk.
This whole
Thank
thing
you.
should be.
I don't even know where to start, so we're just going to start with the union thing. Unions are a very political topic. Democrats typically like them. Republicans typically hate them. I'm not getting into what should or shouldn't happen or who's right or who's wrong. All I'm going to say, the baristas have been trying to have a Starbucks union for like the past 10 years, and Starbucks has been fighting tooth and nail to prevent that from happening.
Oh,
and
wow, I
in
didn't know
2002,
that.
to help Starbucks accomplish this, they hired a new manager in Global Intelligence for Retail Operations, which is probably the most menacing title I could possibly come up with. But what's more interesting is this person's background and who they worked for previously.
Oh,
Those
Lord.
being the Central Intelligence Agency and the Pinkerton Group.
Pinkerton Detective Agency, seconded to the United States government. Nice to finally meet.
Okay, just so we're all on the same page. First of all, CIA, right out of the gate, overkill immediately. But then you add the Pinkerton Group on top of it, and this is fucking insane. Okay, because if you don't know, the Pinkertons are literally the fucking bad guys from Red Dead Redemption 2, okay? They've been banned from doing federal work for the government since like
We never sleep.
1893. Do you know how sketchy you have to be to get banned from working for the United States federal government? And to make it even worse, the reason they got banned, it's literally called the Anti-Pinkerton Act of 1893. The main reason that it went into effect was because the Pinkertons got hired to bust up unions in the 1800s, and they were doing that by joining the unions secretly and breaking them up,
From the
which led to a
inside.
shit ton of violence and murders. So the fact that Starbucks hired one to keep the baristas in line is some of the most unhinged shit I've heard in my entire life. That'd be like if your local school
That
district's
is
administrator
crazy.
hired an ex-Blackwater guy to keep the English department in check, okay?
That could or couldn't be happening in Buffalo, allegedly, because I put nothing past the Buffalo school system. at this point.
Administrator hired an ex-Blackwater guy to keep the English department in check, okay? It's complete overkill. Do you know how much money I would pay to be able to be a fly on the wall during the interview for that job and the events leading up to it? Okay, now on to the new CEOs. Howard Schultz retired in 2002, and Starbucks has been struggling ever since because immediately upon entering the job position as CEO, his successor had a brilliant idea. What if we quit focusing on being a coffee shop and we divert all of our efforts and attention to being better at being a drive-through coffee service? Which, to be fair, if you don't think about it, this is absolutely brilliant, right? Because Starbucks has never made this exact mistake before between 2000 and 2008. And even if they did, who cares?
Okay.
Because the only thing better than making a mistake is making the same exact mistake twice.
You actually this stupid.
So obviously that CEO didn't last very long. He was employed for a total of 17 months before he was forced to step down by the board. And Starbucks just hired their new CEO, the former CEO of Chipotle, and apparently this guy is awesome. I think under his command, Chipotle's stock price rose 700%. So that's great, but here's the problem. This guy
Wait, how long has Chipotle been around?
And Chipotle's stock price rose 700%. So that's great, but here's the problem. This guy lives in California, and he didn't want to move all the way up to Seattle because he enjoys the sun and the beaches, and he didn't want to move where it's gloomy and always raining. But Starbucks really wanted to hire this guy, so what they came up with was he can super commute to Starbucks headquarters 3 times a week. And when I say super commute, I mean he's going to get to take the Starbucks private jet from California to Seattle 1,000 miles round trip 3 times a week. The man's literally the Taylor Swift of CEOs, okay? And honestly, good for him. It's kind of fucking gangster that he got offered a job for $1.3 million a year with a $10 million sign-on bonus and a bunch of stock options. Dude's making millions and millions of dollars a year, and he's still like, nah, I'm not taking the job. I don't want to move. And Starbucks folds and is like, fuck it. You can take the private jet. We'll pay for it to fly you to work 3 times a week.
I mean, he pays for the jet with his credentials if he's going to make the stock rise by 700%. That is just no traffic, honey, I'll be home in an hour, and he's actually home in an hour via plane. That is some boss behavior.
That's a gangster-ass move. I kind of respect it. But on the flip side, we've got the environment, you know, climate change, which a lot of people care a whole lot about. And to be completely honest, I'm not really one of them. I mean, look at that. I don't exactly scream climate change activist or active in general, really. But regardless, as far as I'm concerned, if they're willing to pay to have this guy fly private 3 times a week, more power to him. Go right ahead. He could drive a fucking M1 Abrams tank to work every day for all I care. Okay, but I don't ever want to hear Starbucks talking about climate change and being green ever again, all right? This is the same company that tried to make the entire planet drink out of reusable cups with mushy-ass paper straws, and half their website is dedicated to showing off how much they care about the environment, how many environmental impact studies they've done, and blah, 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 blah. What do the environmental impact studies say? Only poor people can put carbon into the atmosphere? Get the fuck out of here.
Nick!
Why don't you guys just tell the truth? Throw it up on the website. Have a press release that just straight up says, hey, we've hired the scientists, the mathematicians, we've done the research, we've done the calculations, and we've come to the conclusion that if we can inconvenience enough poor people, it's going to offset all the rich people behaving like giant assholes all the time. I'm dead serious. You should actually do it, because you want to know what's going to happen? Basically nothing. I guarantee you there will be a climate change protest outside of Seattle headquarters for like 45 minutes. Literally just long enough for all the college students that showed up to get a quick picture for Instagram to show how much they care, and then they're all going to disappear and go back to what they were doing. And you want to know what they're going to leave behind? A mountain of garbage, and half of that garbage is going to be empty Starbucks cups anyways, okay? Nobody actually cares. Everybody's virtue signaling. Starbucks isn't a coffee shop. It's an unregulated bank. Thank you for watching. Best way to support the channel is to go buy some merch over at thefatelectrician.com. Quack bang out.
Come on, Rant.
You know, if Starbucks was actually smart, they would just hire the CIA and the Pinkertons to assassinate climate change, and then we wouldn't have this problem.
Problem solved. Brilliant. Do I need to boycott Starbucks? Because I'm fine by doing that. I just need to know, like, should I feel outraged? I don't know. Anyway, go buy some merch. Let's be twins. Go and have the day you deserve. Bye.